Good evening. I'm Rafael Martinez. This will end in darkness. How's your week been? I can tell you how my week's been. New York has just recently lifted the mandates on most things. So as we said last week, it's time to go outside. And what a perfect time to go outside. Let's take a look at what's happening out there. Homelessness is sky high. Crime is on the rise. We have a mayor we despise. Pills are the new crack. And as of today, we found out we have a trans serial killer. Now, not as in this person kills trans people, as in this person is a dude who identifies as a woman and killed two of her girlfriends. And you're probably thinking to yourself, that's a tragedy. And it is. It's a huge tragedy. He disposed of their body parts in different garbage cans. He really didn't have a plot. That was unfortunate, but we got two out of it. It's a good news story because how I view it is, granted, a tragedy, and I need to be careful here. This is a step forward for social justice. Our serial killers matter. I mean, yes. Now, hold on, because I sense you want to turn this video off. Don't you dare. Stop it. I'm not wrong. Two things can be right at the same time. Tragedy, bad, horrible, gruesome even. But, a win for social justice. You're probably saying, Ralph, that sounds like a fictional city. It sounds like that city needs a vigilante. No, it is not fictional. It's New York 77 Part 2. Part 2 coming for 22. All we need is a blackout in the summer and we'll have a new genre of music. And what a perfect time to go outside. So we could go out there and fight against all that negativity and see the uplifting movie, The Batman. I'm parched. I need some of that liquid death water. Listen, I'm going to keep promoting this water until they sponsor me. And I've been doing it for weeks, and I'm doing it pretty well. I actually enjoy the water. I'm buying the water. It's $15 a case. And I just want them to acknowledge me and the hard work I'm doing. Because this is a lot. It's costing a lot of money, man. Just acknowledge me. Okay? Just acknowledge me. This is how supervillains are created. With that being said, yes, I did enjoy seeing The Batman. It was a fantastic movie. And I wanted to have a discussion about The Batman. And I thought the only person I could talk to is my favorite government spook, who is currently not stationed in the Ukraine. He is not outside the city of Kiev, even though he will be able to tell us how to pronounce it. But he is not there. He is not there at all. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the Rayvolution.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for inviting me yet again to the greatest podcast in all of lower Gotham.
That is true. This is true. I cannot deny these facts. I cannot deny these facts.
Yeah, for sure. Listen.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro, because I'm excited about this. Like, first of all, you're hitting all my spots, okay? You about to blow my walls out, the sugar walls of my nerd sugar walls are getting ready to get blown out. You're hitting the spot, okay? You done talked about New York 77. The next year I was born, right?
Yeah.
And the aftermath in New York City. Like I remember, all jokes aside, I remember being a kid, and I'll never forget. We were in Manhattan. We were walking. I don't know why we were down there, and this was like '86, right? So I was about 8, and they still had the hookers out. Like it's not Times Square that everybody knows now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was walking on like vials of crack. You know what I mean? Like dispense vials of people using crack and like it was. And I'm not just saying that to like scare people. Like New York was that city, and the bubbling, the crackling, the it wasn't the hint of danger. Like it was there. Right. And I felt, all jokes aside, I honestly felt safer there because there was a code on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like you don't mess with women, you don't mess with kids. Those were the rules.
100%.
Cops didn't worry about you. Like there were no wanton kids out playing and getting shot by cops. Not back then.
Nah. Not
back then. You know what I mean? And it was just crackling. And to juxtapose what's happening right now with that serial killer, like my mother always says, I can't make this shit up. The best stories are the true ones.
Yeah, and it's we always talk about on this show, let's have the conversations we can't have when the sun is up, and that's just what it's all about. Like there are things that are happening in real reality all the time that are ridiculous, and it kind of paints this picture like. We think of the human race so advanced. Look at our buildings. Look at our governments. Look at our financial achievements, our art. But sometimes we're just really dumb animals that do really dumb shit. It's humbling.
Seriously. But like it's so much. Like I said, man, we got so much ground to cover.
Yeah, definitely.
On today's episode, and thank you for inviting me. Like we're talking the Batman. And we need to jump into this right now. Like
if you haven't seen the movie, this is not your episode. If you haven't seen the movie, you need to go and see the movie. This is an episode that gets better after you've done something else. There's a prerequisite here. So, I've given you free episodes. Go see the Batman. That's the least you can do for this episode, right? I'm not wrong. It's fair. So go see the Batman so you can enjoy this conversation about the Batman between me and the Rayvolution. Now, Ray, let's start with, I guess, let's give people an idea of what it is we're looking from a Batman movie. And since you are the guest, I will allow you to go first.
Ask the question one more time. So because there's so many moving parts to this. I want to ask it one more time, please.
I'm going to ask it one more
time. Like I'm on Jeopardy or some shit. Like I'm on Jeopardy. Or the spelling bee. Can you put it into a sentence?
I like that. I like that. The Rayvolution. What do you look for in a Batman movie?
Okay. So I love, off top, right? Mm-hmm. I love the very origins of Batman and its pulp days, right? Yeah. As a pulp hero, right? Like what most people don't understand, the characters that were already out around that time, like the Adventures in the pulp universe. And the biggest, I would say, probably at that time would be the Phantom. Mm-hmm. Right? And a precursor to Batman and a precursor, as crazy as it sounds, the Black Panther.
Yeah.
Right? He's this white guy in the jungles of Africa who was gifted these mystical powers. Like it's really funny, right? But he has this mask. He's really awesome. And so they really were like, hey, how can we take the Phantom and put him into the jungle, the concrete jungle of New York City?
Yeah.
Right? And they kind of use Mandrake the Magician, Tarzan as another pulp hero reference that they use. If you know these characters, you see all the little nuance that ends up becoming Batman.
And one nerd fact is they had a cartoon together known as Defenders of the Earth that Stan Lee wrote the theme for.
Wow, see, look at this. Look at this. This is why, let me say this real quick. This is why you sons of bitches need to subscribe and follow This Will End in Darkness. Every single episode is chock full of needless, nerdy knowledge. Do you hear me?
Let me tell you, I've told everyone, you gotta watch this show. I'm talking conspiracies. I'm talking real government fucked up shit. And I'm also throwing in some nice fantasy stuff, so you can also get that off too. Here's some comic book knowledge. Here's some video game knowledge. I'll talk about a movie, but you're gonna have to sit down and realize there's other shit going on too.
Listen, you heard him. He's filling up all three holes with cream. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
He's turning you into a pop culture Twinkie.
Damn,
you know what I'm talking about?
And everyone loves a Twinkie.
Oh, everybody loves an oblong object filled with cream jammed into their gob hole.
Exactly.
We all love it. So Batman, right? So again, to go back to what we were talking about, me as a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a child in mid-'80s New York, right? And feeling like at any given time something was going to happen, and at any given time I needed somebody to save. That Gotham is probably the biggest character of any Batman story. And if he's not, it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's wrong. If you do not establish Gotham up top, your Batman story is wrong. Case in point, look at the Schumacher films.
Yes.
Gotham was not a character.
No, it was a set piece.
It was a set piece.
Mm-hmm.
And those films were not received well, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the Schumacher films. When you look at what your man did very early on up top with with Batman, 1989 Batman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how he set it up. And do you know, like, he set out to actually make a spoof of 66 Batman starring Bill Murray. Do you know that?
No. Yes, I did know Bill Murray was in contention for a version of Batman. Yes. I didn't know it was like a spoof of 66, though. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like he was going to play, Bill Murray was going to be an Adam West take on Batman. And Bill Murray actually got paid for that. Two people got paid for Batman. So Bill Murray got paid, and what's his name? Black guy. Hey, baby. No, not Marlon, but that ends up happening too.
Yeah,
that ends up happening too. Billy, come on, man.
Oh shit.
Sexy guy from the 70s.
There's a lot of sexy guys in the 70s.
Empire Strikes Back, motherfucker.
Oh, Billy D.
Billy D. Williams, right?
Damn,
Billy D. got paid all the way until Two-Face actually showed up.
He's the man.
He got paid for that.
He's the man.
He's the man, right? So they were going to do that. He actually read The Dark Knight Returns, right? And he went to Warner's. Why am I just saying he? Like, you know what I mean? What's the director's name? What's that weirdo's name?
Burton. You got Burton directing it. John Peters producing it. And I think David Ham wrote it.
Right. So Burton goes in and he says he scraps the whole project. He says, I want to make this movie.
Yeah. And
they're like, no, we can't do that. Like, he's like, no, this is what I want to make. So he made a concession, and that's why we got that super dark, literally, that super dark Batman in '89, because he was so influenced by The Dark Knight Returns and the grittiness of it.
John Peters wanted the Batman, when he says, I'm the Batman, he wanted him to say, I'm the Batman motherfucker. That's what John Peters originally wanted. And he kept telling Tim, if he says motherfucker, it's like, it's the Batman motherfucker. Like, that's a legendary thing. But I think it turned out all right, though. I think I could have gone with either line, because motherfucker would have been a little interesting, but I am the Batman is totally fine. Yeah,
I think sometimes when we go back and we look at the pantheon of like AFI's greatest quotes, movie quotes, and when you look at them, like, to this day, no, Luke, I am your father. You know, like sometimes some things are just perfect, you know? Yeah. I'll have what she's having. You know, like there's certain
so good.
You know what I mean? Like those lines are so great, the simplest ones. And it could have, like you said, it could have been, you know, it's kind of like, I'm Rick James, motherfucker. Yeah. And look, no, I'm Rick James, bitch. I'm Rick James, bitch. And that lives. Yeah. Right. But I'm Batman. Like, that's way more iconic, you know? So I would want.
So I agree with you totally on a Gotham. So we're both there on Gotham. Gotham's got to be a character. Gotham has to feel real. There's moments in the Batman we'll talk about later, like that feel like a real city, and yeah, that it has to. I had to be able to touch that city.
Yeah, and that is and let me say this, right? It has to be alive, and I don't mean like alive with the citizens, but like you feel like this city is sentient. Boom, that's the word.
Yes.
The city is sentient. And I'm going to tell you where they failed, where the DCEU failed at in Birds of Prey. That wasn't Gotham.
Fair. That was more San Francisco.
It was very West Coast. I don't know where. It was West Coast as fuck. Like, you know what I mean?
It felt like Michael
That's what it felt like. It did. It felt like Michael Bay's West Coast. So definitely start up top there. And then the next thing that happened, I'm not joking when I say this. Mm-hmm. I'm not joking when I say this. Please, this is not one of my shticks. This is not one of my bits.
It's not a bit.
I got very emotional when the GCPD was the GC motherfucking PD like in the opening.
Yeah.
They were listen, man. They were, I felt them and I believed them up top. And they really, we're always arguing, about who has the worst police, right? And I always say it's between Boston, New York, and Chicago. Yeah. I'm like, there is no, like, you all can talk about wherever you're from. The heavyweight champs of gritty, corrupted, beat you in the face fucking police units, Boston, New York, Chicago. And they could have a three-man,
it's a three or blue trinity.
Yeah, for real. It's them. And the GCPD felt like that. They felt real. Like, I was like, oh, I know those police.
Yeah.
I know them.
Especially
and that they
captain.
Were centralized.
The captain especially. That really thick Italian accent. I was like, no, that accent. I know that accent. I've heard that accent. It's like.
And that guy.
Perfect. It was perfect.
I've seen that guy. Yeah, I've seen him. I've heard him. I know him.
Yeah.
Right? So then up top, I'm going to tell you, I believed it. I believed the city. I believed the GCPD. I believed it.
Yeah.
Right? I believed it. And I'm going to tell you what the next thing that happened. Right? Because even though it opened up someplace else, I want to get to that. Right? But you said a Batman movie.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you something. What made this Batman movie is when he actually shows up. Yeah. And he's walking in. Right? And they're looking at him like, are you fucking kidding me? Look at this guy. Like, you can't be serious. Like, I believe that they are like, this is the dumbest shit. This is the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life. A guy in this costume coming, they're like, what is going on? And now I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I believe it. Batman is now real.
Yeah. Because what's great about
Batman is real.
Batman even feels embarrassed to be there.
Yes.
Like, he even feels like, I'm super embarrassed to be here. Like, I'm in this suit. I kind of look ridiculous, but I am the smartest man in the room, so I have to make sure every move I make lets them know I'm legit. Like between looking at the clues and stuff like that, or, kind of getting in the way because he's actually investigating. Like, oh, no, I'm here to do a job. Like, I know I look fucking weird, but I actually know what I'm doing. And you kind of see, how that plays out with the GCPD over time. So yes, I think that moment was perfect. You're right. 100%.
It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect, right? And so a Batman movie, that's how...
It has to have that.
It has to have it. We have to establish, and again, the three things that I feel that we have to establish. Gotham, we have to establish the human element of the story.
Yeah.
And to me, the human element of the story definitely starts with the GCPD of this story, right?
Definitely.
And then we introduce the Batman.
Yeah.
What's the world? Who's involved? And how does this man interject himself and move through that world?
Yeah.
And it happened just that happened flawlessly. And then when you juxtapose what we saw, the actual beginning of the film, and can I take a moment to say this, sir?
Definitely.
That the references to the counterculture, the 70s, the late 60s, 70s counterculture film movement were brilliant. And to the first reference we see, I thought it was an homage to Halloween, to
Yes.
John Carpenter's Halloween, man. Like the shape. I really think that the Riddler embodied the shape.
That's so good. And I think because a lot of time in these movies, because they think it's the colors, they think it's the over the topness that makes it a comic book movie. What makes it a comic book movie to me is it an artistic shot? Like, is there actual art going on? Like, could this have been drawn on a panel? And
That part.
every part of this movie, and I think guess that's what I'm looking for in a Batman movie. Like, I'm looking for someone who's taking the comic book form and doing their best to implement it on screen, like the way the Wachowskis did with Speed Racer in anime. Like, I want someone who takes the medium super seriously in a way to try to do their best to portray that on screen. And I think Matt Reeves has done that. I think Nolan refused to do it, but in Batman Begins, he was kind of forced to in certain ways. Burton did that for the most part. Schumacher just fell in love with kind of the Dutch tilt, the old Adam West Batman. So I think only Burton and Matt Reeves have so far been the guys who delivered that key component for me. I want every shot to feel like it's actually a drawn panel.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when you look at I don't know how soon you want to jump into this, but as soon as you realize the comic book references. So like Matt Reeves, like he brought his film references and then he, amalgamized them with his comic book references. And for me, there were so many happening, but let's say that it clearly is year 2.
Yeah.
And there's a year 2 book, but there are no elements from the year 2 at all. So everything, I
think what we're both looking for in that respect is knowledge of the source material, knowledge of the history, take those components and make it into a world. And like, on top of trying to make Gotham real. And I guess the last thing the last two things I think I'm looking for, and they're both kind of married together actually in a Batman movie, is score and a villain I can be terrified of. Those two go together for me. I need both of those as well.
Listen, and we got both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, that score, I was ready to leave there and go purchase it. Like I was like, I want a complete master art. Like I want it on CD. I want something physical. I want to put it into my system, my surround. I want to like Worf used to do it on the Defiant and playing his Klingon operas at full volume. Like I want to that score was a character. I haven't had a score hit me like that since probably Jaws. Right? Like
good.
since like I'm not saying that there aren't scores that weren't brilliant and perfect for the movie, but I'm talking about when that chord hits. It's a character. It's a part of this piece. It's a part of this scene work. And it was just, dude, you hit the nail on the head. That score was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Yeah. And then I guess we both agree, great villain that we can be terrified of. Just like someone who I actually worry that Batman might not be able to defeat. And I think we got that in spades in this movie.
No, we did. Like, again, right? An absolute again. When that moment when we open with the Riddler in a generic white politician, rich man's house.
Yeah.
And he's standing back there, and that this guy, and there's so much happening there, right? This guy is unaware that somebody's in his presence. That's how self-absorbed he is, that he can't even feel the presence of this person there, right? And he's absorbing every moment of it. He's loving it. Riddler is loving it, and I am terrified.
Yeah, and
I am terrified.
It also helps that like we can get into this section now about like Gotham as a character and backdrop. Like that Riddler's only strong because that Gotham feels real. You know what I mean? Like the people even on the background feel real. Like that. There's a shot where in the beginning of the film, there's someone robbing a grocery store for a green mask on. That I turn to Christina going, that could be Marcy Avenue in Brooklyn. Like
Yeah.
I looked at it, I know that spot. I know where under the subway. I know it, and that it felt that real for me. And I think it helped with the second part of that sequence where we get Bruce talking about fear as a tool, and we'll jump more into that with, Robert Pattinson's analysis of it. But the idea that he uses Gotham not just as, because it's real, it can now also be used as a weapon. I can't be everywhere, but if the signal's up and people are surrounded by the darker part of the city, it kind of does half the job for me. I won't get to it, but I'm using the city to my benefit. And that's a very Court of Owls kind of thing. I think post Court of Owls, he kind of develops that idea that I have to use Gotham as a weapon. I think even Damian Wayne does it, as in a possible future. Using Gotham as a weapon helps it feel like, oh, this is tangible. Like how New Jack City made the city feel like it's tangible.
Yeah, bro.
You look at the Carter building, right? The Carter building was supposed to be a place where black people can live and be, as profitable as they can be, go to work, send their kids to school, try to live an actual life. But because we see it a little bit before then, when it transforms into the Carter, you actually get a physical sense of, oh no, I've seen what this is. Like, this is terrible and it's tangible. And I think that's what Matt Reeves does so well with Gotham in this movie. From jump, you see what a normal Halloween night is with a bunch of people happy, they're dressed up, they're ready to go out. Then there's this other part of the city where it's like, it's not doing so well. And you have the guys spray painting the bank and stuff like that. Like, I think even with the Joker gang, right? Like, because you see these guys with their face painting and stuff like that. I was watching an interview with Matt Reeves and people were, this guy was listing all the Batman directors. And he left out Joel Schumacher. And Matt Reeves went, well, we can't forget about Joel. We can't forget about Joel. And that stuck out to me. And then I thought about the Joker gang in the train station sequence. And the thugs in Batman and Robin with the face painted. And it went, wow. Like, this dude thought about Joel when no one else would have thought about Joel. And I think that made Matt Reeves not only just knowledgeable, but you want him to win even more. Because you're like, that's a cool reference, dude. And it also makes Gotham a bit more real. He took a very cartoony concept and made it real with his interpretation, where it's not neon, it's just regular paint. And I was fascinated by that.
Yeah, and I want to go a step further with that reference. For a lot of people that don't know, I'm a huge Batman Beyond fan, huge Batman Beyond. And so the Jokers was a street gang in Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
And they had the white paint. They looked very identical to that. And at that same time, that was being developed. And so I think that having that there, whether the reference started with Schumacher, like it's all Gotham. Like this is all in this universe, right? And as a director and as a professional, right? As a professional, I don't want someone to forget me if they don't like my work in the future. Yeah. Like that's not cool. Like, listen, without his work, we're not here. Like he still made some of the most profitable Batman films. Yeah. He made one of the most profitable ones. Yeah. So the guy is just like the game. He's the Triple H of filmmaking, man. Like seriously, like you might not know that you're watching greatness at that moment. Like you and I, we're huge Matt Reeves fans, right? You and I love Matt Reeves, and we love what he did with the Planets franchise, the Planet of the Apes franchise, the Apes, and we were like, what is going on, right? And we were so excited. I've been tweeting, you've been tweeting for years now. This is, when did Matt Reeves get announced? When did this get announced?
Honestly, it was like a whirlwind because they just dropped it out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, there's another Batman movie coming. And by the time they announced it, we had our first picture of it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, they're moving pretty fast with this one. I can't even remember. Like, if anything, I would say 2018, maybe?
I was thinking 17.
Okay.
I was thinking 17, 8, somewhere around there, right? And I remember us talking like, no, this franchise is in great hands. Like, nobody else in our circle, right?
Yeah.
Like, in the blurred sphere, like we were the only ones that were like, no, this is going to be a Matt Reeves in charge.
Oh.
Yes,
He
we
made me
were
cry at CGI monkeys, dude. That man can do whatever he wants.
He can do whatever he wants. And him and Andy together, oh man, he just painted a world, man.
I'm gonna say this before I don't want to leave Andy and Matt at this moment. I want to say this, and this is a take. All right.
Okay.
They are as important to film as Scorsese and De Niro.
Oh yeah, right now, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't see people giving them their flowers. I don't see people ever giving them their flowers. Andy Serkis keeps getting shitted on because of the mocap suit. It's like, nah, dude, respect the game. He's putting real performances into it. And I think he's doing a lot more live action stuff to prove it now, I think. It's like, nah, I'm going to show you I've been doing this for years.
Oh, yeah. And that, like, again, like, if we go out of into another universe, like, listen, if you didn't think his claw performance in the Black Panther emoted, like he stole every scene he was in. Definitely. He stole it, and he's a brilliant actor. And I think that, like, he has very subtle performance. Like, listen, Caesar, the performance of Caesar, stop it, man. Like he every time he gets nominated, he should win. The guy is the De Niro of CGI suit work and just screen stuff. And I think that I think you're right. That's not even a take. If you're legitimately dialed in as a cinephile, or even you can't be a casual, because the casuals are going to be the ones that they read somebody's blog, and they think they know about film, and they have no idea that even Scorsese wasn't even the man, and when he was releasing some of his best work,
damn right,
like they didn't even appreciate him. So this isn't a take, bro. Like, people have such revisionist history. People always think that Led Zeppelin were these adored rock gods. They weren't. Yeah. The critics thought they were derivative and trash. They thought Led Zeppelin was trash. They didn't get Scorsese. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, in your time, like, you're not – Muhammad Ali was never seen as great as he said he was.
Mm-hmm. 100% fact.
You're always loved later. So go ahead, sir. That's not as hot of a take. I think that is actually well informed, and I think that's a smart take. I think that is bold and courageous to actually say it in a climate where anything that's not in that echo chamber, that zeitgeist of social media, whenever you're doing something new and something fresh, it's always going to have pushback. And, oh, you stupid Puerto Rican. No one to listen to you. Go back to your island. And they wouldn't be wrong.
They wouldn't be wrong. They would not be wrong.
All right, hit me. Where we going next?
So let's hey, there's Gotham, but then there's another person in this movie. It's called the Batman. All right?
Yeah.
First thing I want to talk about is there's two things about introducing Batman that are always key. I think the opening of the opening title, which we rarely, with Nolan movies, you had to wait till the end to get them, or the Tim Burton ones, you got them early, Schumacher. Now with the Batman, you got at least an opening title. The opening title to this one, big bold letters, instantly reminds me of Joker. And I'm like, okay, so Matt Reeves has been paying attention. Like, oh, Todd Phillips did that? Oh, I'm a mirror that a little bit. I am doing an origin story, kinda. Not necessarily, but I am doing a movie that is about the same things you're talking about. It's the same kind of Gotham, but this is going to be an antithesis to that. Like, you don't join the Joker. You actually look for symbols of hope. And then there's the moment where Robert Pattinson enters. Beautiful thing about it is it's still... He knows he's going to win the fight. He knows it's going to be tough. But he knows he's going to win. And he's just at the point where he's just like, I don't have to freak out. I own the moment. I am fear. That brings out a level of control that I don't think we've seen in other Batmen. I think Ben Affleck was more of an animal, which I appreciate and liked. You know, You get the Tim Burton Schumachers, they swoop in all the time. Nolan's just kind of pops up out of nowhere. He's just the shadow for the most part. You know, he pops up randomly. He's a specter. But this Batman is super focused. And I don't think we've ever seen a Batman this focused on an actual fight before. Like, all the other Batman seem to have a good idea of what they can and cannot do. This dude is already analyzing the fight going in. And he just masters fear, I think, a lot better than the other ones do.
Yes. I don't disagree with that, right? I don't disagree with that. There's another component, though, to the fear.
Yeah.
That here's the thing, right? So, like, in the books, right? Like, what a lot of people don't know is Bruce is actually afraid of bats.
Yeah.
Like, he has a fear of bats, right? And I'm going to say this. This is like, you have two focused and two prepared people at the same time. And one of them is more prepared than the other one. One is smarter than the other.
Yeah.
And that makes the other dangerous. And it is the Riddler, right? Because I hope that you have a question later on or at any point about the Riddler and if he knew or not, right? But
we definitely have a segment. 'Cause I want to give the Riddler his own time because there's so much pictures of his stuff.
Sure.
But definitely have a moment for that. But you're right. Like, you know what's great about this year 2 Batman though, and I think you hit on it. One guy is more prepared, so we are seeing a flawed Batman. Now, I know a lot of people have gotten tired of seeing the origin story, but which I find weird because we've only had one other one, which is Batman Begins, besides barely the original Batman. But listen, I understand we don't want to see pearls anymore, but I still want to see an early Batman, which I found to be really peculiarly, like, Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin didn't enjoy that aspect of it. They wanted their Batman to just kick ass. And it kind of let me know where their head's been at with Batman for a while, because they were complaining that Robert Pattinson didn't understand how to be Bruce Wayne yet. And it's like, okay, but this is year 2 Batman. Everyone knew this was year 2. You know, Batman doesn't just jump out the gate being the best Batman he can be. It takes time. And there is a lack of preparedness, you know, for this role that I like. You know, you see it with his, you know, flying suit where he hasn't quite managed how to get the landing done right. Like, he hasn't figured out every fighting style imaginable. He hasn't figured out the right way to enter the Iceberg Lounge yet. Like, he goes 3 times and he tries a different route every time. You know, he tries Batman, I get into a fight. That doesn't work. Let's try number 2. I'm going to go in as Bruce Wayne. Oh, I get through the door. But when I get through the door, I find out some horrible shit about my life.
Right.
3rd time, I go in as a ghost, and I achieve my goal. You know, I love unprepared Batman. I hate Grant Morrison's Batman because he makes him too perfect. And you're 100% right. This dude is unprepared for this job, but he's going to fake it till he makes it.
He's going to fake it till he makes it. And another character that helps in that, and I love it, that how they established him in this one, is Alfred, right? Because I think Alfred is the 6th man of the year when it comes to Batman lore, right? And I loved when they finally said, like, no, this guy just isn't a butler. Like, you know, like, there's a reason why he's with the Waynes. And they alluded to it now, like, that he was more of a bodyguard. Mm-hmm. You know, like, this guy is this guy. And the fact that I want to go back into this set year 2, but it's actually the most of the comic references, the source material is coming from year 1. Yeah. So it's coming from Long Halloween, year 1, Dark Victory, and Earth 1. Yeah. And a lot from Earth. Listen, some of the best stuff comes from Earth 1. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's, oh my God, man, it's just a lot happening. But so tell me more about their take. What Batman do they want to see? Like, what?
So they're tired of, you know, the origin story, but yet, you know, Mark Bernardin bitched about Zack Snyder's Batman. So it was like, all right, so there is no winning, really. I think what's happened to the Mark Bernardin review is that it used to be something I would clamor for. Like, oh, here's a writer's different take on a movie. And it felt different. it felt like, oh, you're just a fan. You're saying, oh, I would like to have seen this, that, the other. Now that he's gotten into screenwriting and he's started getting into the He-Man job and stuff like that, it's turned into this, oh, I need to prove I'm a better writer than these dudes now. Like, oh no, I get it. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, they had an issue with They had an issue with Batman being a symbol of hope. They're like, that's Superman's job. It's not Batman's job. It's like, oh no, like Batman's entire thing is being a symbol to the people in need. So it's a hope. It's hope. Yeah, there's vengeance. Like, yeah, there's justice, but hope is part of justice. Like, it's this weird fanboy, like, no two emotions can mix ever. This Green Lantern thinking, you know?
But it's wrong though, right? Like, if you literally read year one, which, listen, take a Selena Kyle, and I loved how in the original, I always thought she was racially ambiguous. Like, I didn't know what she was in that book. You know what I mean? I didn't know what she was. I knew she was a sex worker. I knew she had this creamy complexion, this short hair, and, you know, the outfit that she had in the book and in the film was spot on. Like, it was brilliant, right? But do you remember, like, he gave like a batarang or something to a kid, you know, like, and I think a lot of people forget how much he legitimately, when he's in those moments with children and the elderly, and, you know, that he makes the most of it. Yeah. That he connects with them, you know, like, I'm here for you, you know, and I think that people didn't even catch that with like he had set it up, like you said, that the city is dangerous and using the fear element, right? Yeah. And we see that, right? And this guy is afraid, like, he's beating these guys. These guys were getting ready to beat you up and do something worse to you. He beat them up, and he still thought that Batman was going to do something to him. And he was looking at that man in that moment, and he absorbed it like, and I could tell he's like, wait, am I doing this right? Yeah. Like, he's like, okay, those people are scared, but these people are scared. And I thought, there you go. And if these people are writers and professionals, and you don't get that Batman is still wanting the good citizens of Gotham to feel safe, and the bad element, and that's what when you get later on in books, where you kind of see that duality happening, like where the criminals, the corrupt, fear Batman. And I like that. I really like that. And for them to say that they just, some people just want what they want. You know what I mean? Like, some people just want a lollipop in their mouth and butter up their ass. They just want what they want, man.
Hey, call them a pervert. Hey, they like what they like. You know what I mean? Boogie Nights, so good. Oh, you know,
reference.
I'm a little parched, Ray. I think I need another liquid death water.
Okay. Okay.
Mango.
How much are we getting?
Delicious.
Okay.
The check hasn't come in yet. I'm still begging for
it. The
it.
check hasn't come in yet. Okay.
I'm still begging.
Okay.
Listen.
Okay.
Quiet mouths don't get fed, dog.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you. Get it, Daddy.
Yeah.
Get it.
What I love about this Batman as well is that you find out that, like, they both, the Joker and the Batman, both like this idea of Thomas Wayne running for mayor. I dig it. I'm into it. It does seem like a rich man's thing to do. They both have different takes on it. That's cool. What really got me was Martha Arkham.
Let's go.
And
let's go.
Let me tell you, this goes into the Pattinson performance. Pattinson plays like a kid with stunted growth. He's still that kid who's 10 that happens to have a better body. He's smart. He ain't that smart. His hair is like such a kid style haircut. The way he dresses is the way a child would dress. Like, the sunglasses, like, why would he sunglasses inside like a kid? Like, he's a kid playing an adult. And now knowing Martha was in and out the asylum, I like that Batman's a little crazy.
Well, and there's precedent to that, right? One of my favorite books, there's like this Arkham one shot that got put together, right?
Yeah.
And they had these case files on everybody, right? And at the end, the last one that they had was a Batman. And the doctor was like, I can't wait. He had his whole evaluation of it. And it's like, I wait for the day that they finally bring him in here.
Yeah.
He said, like, he's crazy. Like, and I was like, oh my God, you want to talk about mind blown? My mind was blown because this is the first time that someone actually said, if you think they're crazy for having their personas and he's not, then something's wrong with you.
Exactly.
He's just as crazy. Like, he's just as nuts. And like, guess who? Now, if we want to keep it a buck, who actually establishes that on screen? Tim Burton and Michael Keaton. You want to get nuts? No, but your boy, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts, right? And so, like,
he did go to therapy in Batman Forever.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm just trying to get Joel some flowers, dog. I'm just trying. I'm at the flower shop. Just trying to get him a set of roses.
Listen, I give Schumacher his roses for the Wiz. Like my nigga brought, can you feel a brand new day? Right. Like this is,
Schumacher.
There you go.
All right.
There you go. And then you talk about a trans serial killer and this gay director. You're the most inclusive podcaster that's not a social justice warrior up top. You know what I mean? Like you're inclusive. And you know what? I want you to get your flowers. How about that? Yeah. Can we get Ralphie his flowers, please?
Flowers for me, none for you losers. Okay.
Yeah.
But as we were saying, the Batman. Yeah. Like it's so interesting seeing this Batman be a weirdo. Like he's a legitimate weirdo in life, like as Bruce and as Batman. There's no getting around it.
An absolute weirdo. Yeah. Like, and it was so like, and how awkward he was with Selena.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I love that.
Interaction with women before, you know what I mean? Like,
he had no interaction with this is like he was awkward, man. Like this dude, like, and for them to get upset about that this dude has dedicated his life to this. He hasn't if you're saying that, then you're cherry picking the Batman lore, right? You're legitimately cherry picking. Like this kid wrote up his own emancipation paperwork, right? So he wasn't a ward of the state. He drafted it himself as a child.
Yeah.
You all have he's always been an overachiever. He's always been very bright. And I don't know what to tell people.
So in the movie, Ave Maria is a big thing throughout the movie. We all know it's also called, Lady of the Lake, but Ave Maria is more known for like Hail Mary, Mother of God and stuff like that. Bruce Wayne looks at his mom like the Hail fucking Mary. There's nothing wrong with his mom. She's perfect. And in a lot of ways, Thomas Wayne, to protect his wife because he loved her, he views her as, he knows she's imperfect, but he keeps up this performance to still make her look like the Hail Mary. So when he has to deal with Catwoman, he sees, is this another Hail Mary? Like, this woman's throwing at me things I never got from a woman before. How to tell her lies? How do I tell her truths? Like, is she my friend? Is she my enemy? Can there be a future here? I think that's a huge part of the whole interaction. I think that's just been, it was like a little bit weaved under. And I'm still trying to figure out what it means for the Riddler, because we don't get necessarily a mom vibe from him or any kind of mom vibes, but we'll get to that at that point. But I think Bruce looks at women like saintly, so it's hard for him to interact with them.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to fuck with that. But let me say this to you. You were talking, and then I had a revelation.
Mm-hmm.
So was Thomas and Martha actually in love, or was this more of a, Gotham elite arranged marriage?
Gangsta's Paradise stuff.
Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Because he was protecting much more than just her and his love and devotion. Like, and what if, because there was a lot of illusions to the court. I don't know if they're going to go there. We're going to talk about that later. But, there's a lot happening in this film. I'm going to go probably tonight or tomorrow to see it again because it's so much going on. But go ahead. Go to the next topic, bro. It's too much. Exactly. I'm going to spiral. I'm about to spiral.
Just spiral. Fuzzy walls. Everyone's happy.
Okay.
Huggies.
Okay.
We're all good. None of that's going to happen. War in Ukraine.
Little Kennison for you?
I like it.
Okay.
There is no Batman without a supporting cast. And it's funny, for such a loner, he has so many friends. And so many people he interacts with on a regular basis. So I kind of want to start with his best friend, his homie, Jim Gordon, Jeffrey Wright. I love everything Jeffrey Wright does in this movie. He, once again, as you said with GCPD, he plays it legit. I'm dealing with this weird dude in a suit. I'm dealing with this weird serial killer. The thumb drive scene where he has to use it. It's like, dude, he's playing it straight. Like, nope, this is a regular cop dealing with some comic book ass shit. Jeffrey Wright is so good.
Listen, I'm glad that, because I didn't want to say anything up top because I knew, we will spiral, right? And I know that you're a professional and I want to make sure that I'm just out of here like, but let me tell you something. He brought that subdued performance and grounded it. And I know everybody's tired of hearing grounded, right?
Yeah.
I know everybody's tired of gritty and realistic, but listen, man, sometimes that's real life. You know what I mean? Like a Cassavetes film.
Yeah.
Like I like Cassavetes. Like he's one of my favorite directors. You know what I mean? Because of that, the realism. Like I want that.
Yeah.
And like this felt like that. This felt like a downbeat cop, right? Like he doesn't know what to do. He's surrounded by corruption. He's surrounded by this. There needs results. I have to work with this guy. This is the only straight person I know that's not on the take.
Yep.
That wants the same thing I want. It's that odd bedfellows. It's the odd couple, man. Like and oh my God, man. Again, wait a minute. Is that another reference? Is that another counterculture? Wait, I didn't see it. Did they take from the odd couple?
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God. Did they take?
Are you thinking of the same scene I'm thinking about?
Give it to me.
The whispering scene? That's an odd couple scene, baby.
Come on, man.
It's so funny. And the thing is, like, he's so good at it because he knows I have to overact this because no one's ever going to really believe we're whispering like this, And even like Batman's thrown off by it, but then he eventually gets into it. It's just like they'll follow me, dude. And it's so funny because you have to watch them team up in a non-cool setting. It's just really I need you to punch me so you can get out of here. It's so funny. I love that scene every time. It was so brilliant. And it's like, but the thing is, like you said, they had to overact because these people want to see this over the top. Like, but it was all true though. Yeah. It was all. Oh my God, man, you're a genius. Like, because you ask the right questions. You're very talented, not just as a personality, right? But you are a very skilled interviewer. You are very thought-provoking. You think beyond the color of the pale of the conversation. You go into it. Like you're really good at this. You're really good at this. And thank you. Liquid Death Water for helping me get that.
Okay.
Thank you, Liquid Death Water.
Okay.
But Jim Gordon is so good in this movie, and
did the graphic come up? Did the Liquid Death Water graphic come up? Did you?
I don't know if I'm legally able to do that just yet. WRK, I'm still trying to find out.
If you could just flash it, I think
I wrote them in.
A couple seconds. Yeah. Like, flash it. Liquid Death Water.
Fight Club style.
Yeah. Boom. There we go. Boom.
Bam.
There we go.
I gotta get legal on this immediately.
Let's do it throughout the episode now. From this point.
Now that's a new game now. That's a new game now. For the second half of this very long episode, which I'm excited about, you now have to find the Liquid Death logo that flashes. It will be flashing at some point in this episode, and it's going to happen. And if you can find a time, I will get you a This Will End in Darkness mug. Boom.
Okay. You're generous. You're very generous. Look at you.
For this goddamn mug. But it's the first person who tells me about it. All right? The first person. Not all of them. The first person. The first person.
The first person.
All right?
Right.
The first person.
Right. The colonizer.
That's how my riddle works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm with it. I like Jim Gordon's outfits in this movie, man. Like, it felt real. I know that cotton white shirt. I've bought it at Kmart before.
Kmart? Wow, I haven't heard that place.
Oh yeah.
Since yeah.
It's a tough time for Kmart.
I'm you know, I wasn't Upper West Side, but you know what I mean? Like, wasn't too far from it, you know?
Yeah.
Just little snobby little kid. Yeah, I got better taste. But dude, it was a real guy, like, and just getting up and having to be a cop.
Yeah.
Like okay, go ahead. Next, who's another supporting cast? Because we can get on Gordon, we can stay on Gordon, but like
we did Alfred already for the most part.
Yeah.
Is there anything
for the most part
about Alfred? Anything?
Just how the public is really embracing Alfred now and understanding this guy is a lot more complex than anybody knows, especially the casual fan, the movie going public, Joe Jane audience member. Like, you know what I mean? John Q moviegoer, right?
Yeah.
That they're starting to see like, oh wait, Alfred, and I think doing this and saying this and hoping people Google, hoping people watch Pennyworth, hoping people go pick up an omnibus collection, you know, like this type of stuff really furthers pop culture economy, you know, and makes people just a few thousand people will go and spend now because they're interested and they're curious. And Alfred is just one of those characters that has so much depth within the Batman lore.
Yeah.
So
he's getting the push I always wanted for, you know, Jesus' stepdad. Like, Joseph never really gets that kind of play, man. But he stood by a woman with a weird story, and he raised that kid like his own, man. He went, You said a weird story?
A
weird story. Because let me tell you, that's a hard gimmick to get over, brother.
That's a hard, wait, so you was a virgin? Okay. And you want me to marry you and raise this deity? So, okay.
Joseph needs to get that push eventually. Hopefully this Easter. I'll get on that. I'll get Joseph to push, brother. All-time stepdad. All-time stepdad.
Okay. Next thing you know, you're going to be trying to get Judas over.
If you give me time, I can find
If you give me time.
Just a little teaser. I mean, didn't it work out for Destiny? Kind of had to.
I mean, maybe he was playing a role.
Yep. We all play roles in life. It's all an elaborate stage.
Yeah. You playing roles, I'm playing with my junk.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Speaking of playing with junk, how beautiful was Catwoman?
Listen, you know, not only physically beautiful, but her performance, man. Like, again, believability, I believed it. You know, the scene where she's looking for Annika and her love for Annika, right? I believed it. Like, she was that to me. What was the bad scene?
The only bad scene was when she first got into that cab and was calling her. I didn't buy that scene, but everything else I bought.
Okay. See, everything was. It was so much going on. I don't even think about that one. You know what I mean? Because it was like if something bad is sandwiched in between a good and a great, like it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know. But I didn't even.
It's serviceable.
Yeah. But she was fantastic. It's crazy that the story that came out, and I'm glad she told it. that Nolan's people wouldn't even let her read for Catwoman the first go around. With the Nolan verse. That they were like, nah, you're too urban. She's like, wait, what? Like you would literally tell me, like you wouldn't, like, oh wow. And again, here we go. These people don't even understand a character.
Yeah.
This woman is a thief.
Yeah.
She grew up in abject poverty. Listen.
She kind of has to be urban.
Catwoman, she kind of has to be. And if Gotham is a play and if Metropolis, both are plays on different parts of New York City, right? Then there is nothing more Catwoman like in casting for that character than a Latina or black chick.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. It just is what it is.
Here's what's so good about that movie. Any other writer would have made that, she would have mentioned what her race was. Never does. The only way you really know is when she hits Bruce with that white privilege line. It's the only ever time her race becomes a thing to point out. And it's any other writer, I'm telling you, it's every other conversation. It's every other conversation, every other line of dialogue. But they played it, I think, 100% right. At a moment when she's giving him her philosophy on how things work, who I am as a person in this city, as who I am, like skin-wise and all that, that also plays a role in what I'm talking to you about. And it comes up in that really good moment.
And I'm gonna tell you something, right? At the first mention of it, right, I had a little cringe. I was like, oh Lord, here we go. But then I said, no. I understood why it happened. And can I add to that really quickly? It was the quickest way to not have the cliched Robin Hood conversation, right? Yeah. I steal from the rich, give to the poor. I don't give a fuck about them, right? That they put it in a contemporary context. And I was like, oh, it's Catwoman. She's a thick, like, no, this all shakes out. Yeah. This all shakes out. You know what I mean? This all shakes out. Just to give her, like, and we talk about the Trinity, okay. Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
Listen.
Whoa.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even think about it.
Oh,
I didn't.
I know where you're going. Go for it.
Do you? Are you sure?
Go for it.
The Trinity, like she's, oh my goodness, bro. Like, wait a minute. You have 3 orphans. Mm-hmm. And they're all making 3 different decisions. Yeah. Right? And she's kind of in the middle. Mm-hmm. She's the anti between Bruce's philosophy and Riddler's philosophy. And they're all fueled by revenge and the sins of fathers. Yeah. And oh my God, this is even better now. Wait, I didn't even see that. I didn't even see it until you asked oh my God. You said it.
What's beautiful about it is you're also seeing how men relate in her life. John Tuturro, we'll get into his scene-stealing abilities in a few minutes, but he has such an overbearing on her life and her growth. Her entire arc is, I have to get rid of this dude who's made my life this living hell. But she doesn't get the chance to because Batman won't let her. Even though, granted, murdering him is a step too far, maybe. Depends on, we don't know the full relationship. We don't know fully what happened. But now she goes, all right, I trust you, Batman. Let the cops take him. And the second he walks out, he gets killed by the Joker. The men in this movie just control her life entirely. And it's her father, the man she's kind of in love with, and this dude who's just in the atmosphere. That's her entire existence. The last scene where they're both on bikes and they ride off knowing they can't be together. She, for the first time with a man in her life, has made a decision. I'm not going to follow you. She pulls off first. She realizes I have to figure out what this is for me. I got to figure out what my life is without all these men. who have just had such a huge impact on it. Leaving the city to Bloodhaven, people say Catwoman had no arc. She had one of the most important arcs. She's the heavy debt of this movie. She's the
how can they say she didn't have an arc?
So
she had an entire arc. What? Like, this is, people are stupid online. Like, nuance, critical thinking, it's all dead.
Yeah.
Soft skills don't exist anymore. Like, people are just, and they're just in that echo chamber I'm talking about. The one person that they like says it, and so they echo it. And because, listen, we do know. Like, we heard about she was strangled. And so he put two and two together, like, oh, Falcone actually killed her mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, and here's the other thing, though, right? Like, this is the question I have. Did he know that's his daughter?
I don't think till the end. I think that was the big reveal at the end. But it's hard to know because this movie does that with Tuturro, but also does it with the Riddler later, where you think someone knows the answer to something, but they don't really know the answer. So Tuturro, I think when he was killing her or trying to kill her, I thought he knew already. Because that kind of thing, even though he just heard this news, it's kind of weird to reference it when you're about to kill this little girl. You know what I mean? Who is your daughter? You know what I mean? Like, you just found it out now. I don't know if you rushed to the choke. You know, gun or not, there's some things that still have to be figured out here. You know, is the mom alive and stuff like that? So I think he's always known to a degree, but I don't think it's ever been confirmed until that moment that she knew. Because he seems to be the only one that knows anything in Gotham about anything. He seems to have all the cards, more so than the Riddler. And that's why I think the Riddler going after Falcone is so interesting. He is the legitimate brain of Gotham. So I think he's played everybody, and he doesn't know if she knows yet. But
I disagree with you there. Okay. Yeah, I do. I know what you mean, but I disagree there, right? Gotcha. I think it's kind of so here's the funny thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? Here's the funny thing, right? Bruce doesn't really know a lot about his dad. Like, and that's kind of coming up, right? He, his mom and his father, like he's learning. And I think that there's so much juxtaposition happening that everybody's learning. Everybody, like, stuff's coming to the light. Like, Riddler is literally pulling out secrets.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that, like, it's discovered. Dude, oh my God, man. Matt Reeves, listen, I don't know what's going on, man, but this thing is way more layered. And I think that this is, whoa, man. Like, I think that because he trivialized that woman, she was nothing to him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this girl has spent her whole life looking at one of the princes of the city, and he doesn't even know, like, oh yeah, I remember her. Like, she wasn't important to him. He was like, hey, beautiful. Like, he never treated her like a child. Like, she said, I was coming here as a child.
Yeah.
She never said, like, hey, he saw me, he knew of my existence. Nah.
Yeah.
That was never said. The mom was a stripper. She was maybe even a sex worker, because that, what is it, 45 Below?
Yeah.
It seems like girls are working girls down there. Like, this is like, hey, this ain't upstairs when you're trying to meet a chick. No, this is downstairs. The action is happening. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, whoa. This is brilliant, bro. This is brilliant. All right, next. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Let's keep going. Yeah, because this is all great.
Colin Farrell plays the Penguin.
Man.
You can start.
Let me tell you. There have been two performances this year where prosthetics were used, right? And I've been like, I didn't see it at all. Like, I heard and I was looking for the person.
Yeah.
Right? The very first one, Sarah Paulson, An American Crime Story Impeachment. I watched 3 episodes before I realized she was Linda Tripp. Okay? I was like, oh man, this Linda Tripp is nuts. And I'm like, wait, this is Sarah Paulson?
What I like about this Penguin is that it feels like an everyday gangster in New York. You've seen these John Gotti-like guys. You've seen all these dudes who were very flashy. They wanted you to know they were a gangster. You know what I mean? And what I love is also there's a certain like realness to Colin Farrell. You know, like he's a real person. Like when he's getting chased by Batman and he finally thinks he escaped him, he's like, I got you. Like that's a normal thing a person would say. Like it's not every other movie would have had him say some really dope line or like some really bad pun, but like he went to I got you. Like that's a human celebration. He is knocks out the park.
Yeah, he does. And can I say this though? Mm-hmm. I believe not like he was just above street smart.
Yeah.
Like he was actually like you can see how in several years this guy is gonna be a Falcone-esque player in the Gotham underworld. Like he's not a dumb guy at all. Like he's very smart. Like, but a different kind of smart. Like it was, and it was probably the first time we've seen the criminal gangster element of Penguin, because I loved in really truthfully like in the late 90s and 2000s when they really kind of lean into that versus kind of like the poor man's Luther that they kind of portrayed him as was just like this rich guy who's doing all of these nefarious things and trying to become mayor and governor and you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit is corny to me. You know what I mean? Like it's not bad. I read the stories. I like them. Yeah. But the gangster Penguin, like especially seeing like I love that watching Gotham.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved that. That's still my favorite Penguin. Right? That's still my favorite Penguin. He was just because we got so much screen time, we got to see him. Yeah. We got to understand his motivations. But Colin, man, just stole so much and the fact that nobody died, right? Yeah. So like I know later you got something else cooking, right? But I want to say this real quick.
Yeah.
There was a point in the second act where legitimately I was like, this is one of the most comic book movies out here that's ever happened. Like, and it's like, oh no, this is how it would happen. But we're gonna get into that. I know, but I just wanna. Yeah. That's a tease. But okay, so that's Penguin. So go ahead. I've said my piece there.
What I love in a lot of ways with he's the funniest guy in the movie, and like even with the whole correcting their Spanish thing, it's like. It's a real Penguin thing to do. Like, hey, I'm smart. You know, I know things. It's very Fredo. Like, what if Fredo got to be a crime boss? It's like, I know stuff. You know, like, I'm smart and I'm not dumb like everyone else says. You know, it's a real, like, fun thing for Colin. I think he's nailed that down with, like, you know, a lot of Guy Ritchie movies, especially with, you know, Gentleman recently. Like, he just plays, like, a regular boxing coach who can just get shit done. And he plays like nervous in that movie, you know. So I think also having Colin Farrell, who was also up for Batman at one point, you know, come back and play the Penguin, like that's Matt Reeves just knowing.
It was, dude. I can understand because you just legitimately just summed it all up, and that was brilliant observation. And
let's get into our guy. Listen, for me. If John Tuturro was not already famous, I tell you, this is a breakout performance. He does so much with his minutes, and it's a crime boss we haven't really seen before. He's a bit more chill, and you don't think of him as a crime boss. He's John Tuturro, but that's how those guys look. And they have like these little fashion flares. Like he wears the sunglasses all the time. You get your first Godfather reference with him. You know, like there's a moment where like I believe Bruce has come to see him, and the song that's playing in the background is a song that Johnny Fontaine sings to Connie. You know, I have but one heart. You know, and he's kind of like this amalgamation of like real life dudes who you only saw in the pictures, but he's so carefree because he knows nothing can happen to him. because he's got it all figured out. And I think John Tuturro he steals almost every scene he's in.
Oh yeah, he does. But can I say this though?
Yeah.
If you look at John Turturro's performance, look at all the other heavyweight actors and actresses that later in their career get pulled into pop culture films, right? Look at what happened with Helen Mirren, right, when she did Red.
Yeah.
And look at I'm trying to think of another person, like John Malkovich even, right? Yeah. You look like they're having fun in these movies, right? Yeah. Like, and they're telling other people, like, nah, man, you want to make one of those movies. Like, look at how much fun Anthony Hopkins had in Thor.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was having, like, and it comes through the performance, right? And then it makes this character, like, where you even kind of go, like, I see how Thor became Thor, right? Like, it's coming out. And so his performance, right? Like, he's like, yeah, man, I'm John motherfucking Tuturro. This is like, I'm the king of this shit. This is like one of the independent films that I've been in where I dominate everything that I do. You know what I mean? Like, he and his brother have been doing their whole career in television and film in NYC. And that he's like, nah, I'm that motherfucker. This is my movie. This is my moment. Yeah. And then to have a character who most people don't know because they weren't in those big runs, right? Yeah. That they were literally in the year one universe, right? And how Falcone, like, he just brought this swag to him, right? Where it's kind of like you like him, but you don't. And they made sure to take away any else that we might gravitate toward him and go, ooh, I kind of like, shit, he strangled her mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shit. He really, he's a rat. Fuck. Okay, yeah. Fuck this nigga. Fuck this nigga.
It's so easy to hate him in this movie. Like, even with the whole, like, talking about how Thomas Wayne did his surgery, and like how he looked up at the kid and saw Bruce was watching the entire time, like, just how he just flaunts that knowledge. Like, oh yeah, I'm connected to this kid too. In case Oswald didn't know, I'm with the Waynes a little bit as well. It's a nice little flair.
Yeah, he was, and it was like very casual, but like, I'm gonna let you know, like, that I'm holding these cards, and the fact though, and that again, I know you want to talk more later, but this is just another highlight to Riddler's brilliance. Like, he knew all of that.
Yeah.
He knew all of that. So, okay, you got anything else about Falcone?
Well, to be honest, there's no other, like, no one else really stood out to me other than those people that I remember from watching. I think that even, you know what, we gotta give Skarsgård some love though as a DA. Played it.
No, great. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Skarsgård. We showed love.
Absolutely.
To the police captain. The Italian accent. He was fire. You know what I mean? We got him honorable mentions. Everyone delivered in this movie. Supporting cast wise, like, I was impressed from top to bottom. But of course,
I love Martinez though. I love him.
Martinez.
I love Martinez
with the clutch clue.
Clutch. I believe. Like, I'm gonna be honest, man. He was the heart and soul of the working stiff of the GCPD. He was more relevant and purposeful than I think you're giving him credit for, bro. He was needed. We needed Martinez, bro. And he showed up and showed out, bro. Like, and that he's gonna be a player moving forward.
Oh yeah,
and that's what this is. They got to. They got to.
It's all about consistency.
It's boom. Okay, I said my piece. I don't want to. I'm gonna stop there because I'm getting revved up.
We support Martinez on his podcast.
Yes, we do.
Nothing to do with nepotism that we had the same last name. He just delivered. He just delivered.
Sure, he did.
Nepotism here ever.
Okay.
This is my John Tuturro performance.
Nudge.
I put my sunglasses on. Yeah, there's no nepotism here. But speaking of,
is that John or is that Nick? Who are you doing right now? I think you're doing Nick.
I just love this movie and talking to you about it so much. I'm delirious, dude.
You are delirious, and it's with good reason.
If someone else is
with
delirious,
good reason,
it's the Riddler.
Oof. Oof.
All right, so I want to point out one thing. I saw this on Reddit, and I went back to confirm it. In Stranger Calls in 1979, there's an introduction to a killer where, like, you see a background, you see a regular wall, and I believe the light turns on, and you see the killer is camouflaged as the wall. It's the first time you've seen him. That's what I've been told by Reddit. So when Paul Dano pulls it with, he's in the darkness of the mayor's home, which I want to point out, the kid, the mayor's son, was dressed as a ninja.
As a ninja. Oh, yeah, I caught that reference.
So,
yeah,
in some way, he might have created another Bruce, which I will get to in my pitch later. But, in essence, he's recommitting the crime, whether he knows it or not. Well, he knows what he's doing, but in terms of that costume, he is recommitting the crime that creates Batman and actually creates the gaping hole that Gotham is today. And his first reveal is in the dark, the light comes on, and there he is. It's one of the best villain entrances I've seen in a comic book movie. Because you know how good he is off rip. This is what he can do. And you mentioned it earlier with the soullessness, that you don't even sense his presence. This is a dude devoid of all humanity.
Yeah.
And here's like a shadow you said in Halloween. It's so done right, and it's so Mindhunter. You know, it's what I always wanted to really be.
Yes, we talked about this. Listen, you and I actually pitched this years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, you and I came up. We were like, he needs to be, you know, a more what's old boy's name from Saw? We were like, he needs
Jigsaw.
to be one of those guys, Jigsaw, you know, but his name is like Kramer or something, right? John something, right? And we were like, nah, man, like he needs to be and have these puzzles, and we were like, nah, man, it's got to be like Seven. This guy's got to like shake Gotham to its core. And I still feel like here's the other thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have one complaint.
Mm-hmm.
I have one complaint there where I felt like it should have really felt more like New York 77 and David Berkowitz, right? We should have had more reports of like people like, nah, I'm not going out, man. Yo, Gotham is bugging right now, kid. Like it should have been like, you know, people like, nah, I don't know what the serial killers are like, and then you could have some dudes like, tell guy, I wish Berkowitz would run up. I fucked that nigga up, like, you know, when you see the different backgrounds of Gotham, right, and how what he's doing is really, you know, shaking the whole city to its core. I felt like that was the only thing that was missed was that, and that because Riddler we should have seen how scary his actions and everything he was doing and the repercussions of. That's the only complaint that I have.
Yeah, that's a legitimate nitpick because like
it's a nitpick.
All you need is a few seconds of that and it's fire. You're right.
That's it.
It's 100%. Like I enjoy that the riddles on the cards that he's giving are just one piece of it. There's other things written. It's like not just a simple riddle. There's other clues there. His cipher, you know what I mean? A map. So like he really puts a lot of work into it. A bit more than like I would say sometimes the comic books where like the riddle is the answer and it is a contraption. No, the contraption's part of the actual riddle itself. And the first card he gives out is a card that has an owl on the front.
It has an owl on the front. Let's get to it. Listen.
All right. So
remember,
because I talked about this last week. Remember when we were first pitching it, I said the ending had to be that he's in jail thinking he's gotten away with it and an owl flies to his window.
Yeah.
And that would have set up our sequel. I felt so vindicated at that moment when I saw. I'm like, oh yes, someone was in the wheelhouse. Even if he doesn't do it, someone was in the wheelhouse. Where if he's this smart, he knows the Court of Owls exists, or there is this upper echelon group, and just even his handwriting was really interesting. Like I wish like there was more screenshots of it because like that the Joker handwriting picture that went around for a bit. I wish more people had gotten like the Riddler's handwriting down because that's a real serial killer. The way he writes Batman, like he emphasizes the first line because he's that pissed he has to write to him. So good.
Yeah, let me tell you something, right? I think that they were setting up, and so much is going on around the Riddler, right? Just around him. And like, yo, who killed his dad? Like, and so we're seeing like, wait, there's more questions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm glad they started with the Riddler.
Yeah.
Because he's making us all, the characters in Gotham, right? And then us at home, like, wait, what's really going on? I think he's bringing to light, making people think and ask questions, right? And that simply, the other big theme here is the renewal fund, right? If anyone read the Court of Owls and they know, that was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
That is a huge foundational cornerstone in the storyline with Bruce, and I can never remember the guy's name. Because I never like, spoiling it for people. So I'm kind of glad I don't remember it right now. So people can kind of go into it fresh if they're like, oh, man, let me go read this Court of Owls.
If you haven't read Court of Owls, watch it. Read it.
You have to. It is, let's say this, right? That this universe can create more mythology that like you go, wait, what? My mind was blown that this type of mythology was still out there to be created for Batman. Like this is why he's the greatest character.
Yeah.
Nobody else can build like this. Listen, to simply put, someone said, hey, that Bat has a natural predator, right? It's the owl. And boom. I was like, holy fuck. Like, wait, what? And so him having that card and that owl on it, for all of us eagle-eyed people, listen, we know what time it was. We knew what time it was. Yeah. And I think getting Falcone out of the way, let me be clear with you. I think the Riddler, the way that even Batman, like Bruce, was a pawn to them, right?
Oh, I see what you're going for.
See?
I see it.
See?
Pawn of the Owls.
You see it?
I like it.
You see what I'm saying?
I like
it. And I think they
can take it over again.
Boom. And like, get rid of him. Get rid of Falcone. Get rid of him.
Yeah.
We need him out. We need them out. Get rid of them.
Well, it's interesting because Son of Sam now claims that it wasn't just him doing the killings. It was a group effort. And that's like very interesting in terms of like those kind of serial killers. Like even the Zodiac to a degree, some people claim they were Zodiac killings, but necessarily weren't. And he also claims some fake ones. So, and I also have my theory that there were two Zodiac killers and just there was one real crime that was just more closed off and the other one's just piggybacked off that one. But I think if the Riddler did have some fun, because you gotta be independently wealthy to pull this off. And yeah, he had a job, they say, but it's like, I don't know if you're really holding down a job pulling off this kind of, like, the way his books were written, it's like, this dude's been at this every day. Like, this is a 24-hour operation. So, I definitely can see the Court of Owls, being like, oh, this is our guy. He's our agent of chaos we're going to send out. And listen, like, maybe the Joker didn't work. There's that tease, at the end. We can talk about it now a little bit because I think it is important to the Riddler in a lot of ways. We now have that reference to the Joker. He exists in that universe. And maybe that was their first attempt. And we just never saw it. Or maybe they were like, well, someone eventually will cause this chaos. And they create a situation where someone did. And now the Joker was kind of a first attempt that didn't really work out. They got more focused with the Riddler. They found a kid online that was probably, already on his way down the spiral of the dark web and shit. And they went, well, this kid we can cultivate. Like, maybe if we just influence him in certain ways. Like, how we talk about, like, how the people in January 6th, that's a component of all this. You know, maybe they use the Joker as going, you know, the problem with Joker was he's just not focused about it. If someone got really serious about it, you can do some stuff. And he does talk about Batman showing him focused violence can work. So I think, you know, with the Riddler, which is so interesting, is that he is a creation of a city as well. You know, a city that abandons its orphans, abandons mentally ill people. You know, they're both abandoned by a city in different ways. And I just really like how Paul Dano, you know, he plays it like so, like, his face is so adorable in some way. Like when they first get to him in the diner and he has that look like, I just ordered the cherry pie. It's like, oh no, you like this. I pass by you all the time on the street. I'm like, oh, that's a kid. You know, it's like, there's something really beautiful about that movie going, let's pick somebody who looks like the all-American kid and he's gone astray because of the city's corruption.
Yeah, I love that casting, but I need to really quickly, I want to push back on your theory.
Gotcha.
I want to give you a little context here on this, right? So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
When you're demoing a building, how do you demo it? When they're demoing a big structure, how do they demo it?
Take the foundations out.
How do they do it, though?
Oh, with explosions and stuff.
And how do they time the explosions?
I'm not sure. I've never done it before. I'll get to it one day.
They do it in stages.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, in stages.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You cannot blow something up all at once. It'll be destruction, right?
Yeah.
So you have to blow things in stages. Let that crumble. And so I'm telling you this for a reason.
Yeah.
The Court of Owls is smarter than you're giving them credit for. The Joker was stage one.
Gotcha.
Whatever he did was the first stage.
Yeah.
Right? And guess what? Now, when you kind of see that the Court of Owls is real, it makes, listen, the court is probably the most necessary piece in the Bat universe because you understand why people stay alive, they do dirt, they go to prison, and they get out. Like, no.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah. You're our check and balance to keep, you know, what we want moving and shaking. But I think the joke, when I saw him in there, I said, yeah, the court exists. He was stage one. Yeah. This guy is stage two. You know what I mean? Like, this dude is stage two. And I love what you said, though. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was thinking.
No, go. You go.
I was thinking what's good is that because you got the Joker out the way, kind of, like, you don't have to redo that first movie. You can just get to, like, quicker to along the line of the Owl's plan. You know, you're not going to have to spend an extra movie having to get to the Owls if you need to. Because Joker's already taken care of, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, and again, very smart, like you said, it's taken care of. Mm-hmm. Like, and we go, oh, shit. Yeah. Okay, that's what's going on here? Fuck. And then it's like making people run back and double check, like, because that's what this film is. That's what any good film should do, especially noir. Yeah. Like, you know, what was the last Knives Out? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Knives Out. If you did not watch Knives Out, like, wait, whoa, hold on, run this back. If you didn't want to, you don't have a good mystery film if you don't want to immediately say, hey, run that back.
Yeah, exactly.
Run that back. Run that motherfucker back. Run it back. And that's what that film does. Like, it makes me want to watch it again and again because it's going to be more and more revealed. And I think that's the part of it. Like, how much is being revealed. And so now that we're at the Riddler portion of this, I have to say it. He knew. It's precedent in the books.
Okay.
The Riddler figured out that Bruce is back. He figured it out. Yeah. The only the big thing of the Riddler and any riddle, right, is that you don't want other people to know the answer.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's 100%.
You come up with the riddle so hard that you want to be the only person that knows it. Exactly. And what's the hardest riddle out there? Right? Who the fuck is Batman? Yeah. And he knows it. Mm-hmm. He knows it. And he was throwing it in his face, and he was playing, you know, like, no, yeah. Bruce. And then like, listen, man, Paul's, oh my God. Like he was literally tapping into, I don't know if it's his mentor, but a predecessor and a screen colleague of his, and Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he went Daniel Day-Lewis when they were in Arkham together, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I see you, Daniel. I see you. And I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
What I like about Paul Dano in this part is that I can believe it, and like I like the that part when he finally see his original video of, hey guys, thanks for the advice on detonators. I was like, this is like, I've seen those videos before. Like the thing about the whole, like, social media aspect of it, I like watching alt-right videos for fun. They're humor to me. 'Cause I'm like, how stupid can these people be? But you see like these revolutionaries and all that, and they're all trying to like all gather each other up and all sharing information. And those comment threads, you're like, holy fuck, like these dudes are actually kind of smart. Like they actually kind of know how to give each other advice and stuff like that. It grounded it in a modern reality, a modern nightmare. And I think that's what Batman has to be sometimes. It's a modern nightmare. Like what was fear for us today? And it's that kind of, collection of people. Now, censorship's a hard question to have. What is good censorship? What is bad censorship? But this Riddler movie kind of goes, yeah, this is happening to a lot more kids than you think.
But let me say this though, right? Mm-hmm. Not only do I agree with all that, but it makes a connection that nothing else has ever made, mm-hmm. right? How in comic books, in lore, how in the fuck do these guys get henchmen?
Yeah.
And listen now, this is why I'm saying this is the most comic book movie now. Yeah. Listen, we've seen 2 films now. We've seen 2 films set in Gotham, set in the Batman mythology, that we see how people get henchmen.
Yeah.
Right? Like that you're saying this alt-right, you're talking about fringe, people on the fringe, right? And that there are all these people on the fringe. And we've never seen it before. Like, it's always been a joke. Because we're kids, like, I've always like, how do you follow him as a hint? Like, why would you follow him?
What's the
But now, what is it? Like, what is it? And these guys are just like them. They live in house. Like, this henchman thing now?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the most brilliant thing. The henchman. That he had 500 people. They're like, 500 people? And everybody was like, oh, he's only got 500. I said, no, those are henchmen.
That's enough.
That's more than enough.
Yeah. Like out of 500, you get 10 guys that fully are true believers. That's all you need is 10. You know what I mean? Like
but we saw more than that.
Yeah, we saw more than that. So in the end, when he does his big crescendo, which is indirectly baptize Gotham, you know what I mean, because it's filled with sin, and I will smite thee and flood the world. He has this. It's kind of this sermon through visuals. Like. He's flooding the city. He needs to be rebaptized. The sinners have to go. And he has like at least 10 dudes up, even more. Like it was more than that, man.
10,
about 20, and they were just out there on the rafters, ready to kill the people and the mayor.
I think they were all around though. They were some on the ground level, like and that's the scary part, right? And that you go, wait, how many people? Like you said. When you saw all those guys in that reveal, you go, wait a minute. How many people was really involved? Who's really behind the mask? And that's the thing, right? That this is faceless. Like this movement, I'm the head, but it's faceless. Like it's out there now. It's a bunch of me's out there, and it's gonna keep like, dude. Okay. Genius. But this kind of ties into your last question.
Yeah. All right.
Which is?
Okay. Here's a question I have regarding this movie. And I often have this with a lot of movies now. Like, what are you trying to tell me about what exists today? What is the future of this Gotham? how does one turn the clock back? After the Riddler just, not only pushes them forward, but smashes the clock. And I think it's something that society's dealing with now in terms of how do you reach those fringe people. And to be honest, you look at all right, let's kind of like tie it all together now. The son of the mayor, he is now abandoned by Gotham and witnessed his dad was a victim in a battle of ideas. We're all victims in a battle of ideas when we don't, I guess, in a sense, get involved in our own ways, whether it's voting, whether it's, being Batman of your neighborhood. You know what I mean? Trying to be something better. My question really comes down to, with the Riddler and this idea that's now permeated Gotham, what's the future? Because you can't really go back, can you?
What's the future as far as this world, the DCEU,
I think
the sequel?
Because now that I think we do have to talk about what's happening in the real world as well. This is a very bold ass movie that makes a lot of bold ass stances. Is the DCU going into this kind of future? Like, what is the future of DCEU in terms of filmmaking standpoint and business?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I can see this right now. There's a couple of things at play here, right? Mm-hmm. So we clearly see with their television properties, and even with some of the film stuff, like they've already tried to tie in with the multiverse that's happening on television with the Arrowverse, and then we saw the Flash, Ezra Miller's Flash show up in the multi-episodal, series crossover. And then we see that that's happening with the movies, bringing in a couple different Batmen, bringing in Michael Keaton. And is your boy showing up too?
Ben should be showing up.
Affleck? Ben should be showing up, right? So we see that they're trying to tie loose ends, and, maybe a new 52 is going to come out of that, right? But this right here, this film is going to be telling, because what I believe is, okay, like DC as a whole, are we going to have like these pocket Elseworld stories that we're able to tell that stand alone, like Joker, mm-hmm. right? And because maybe Matt Reeves is a pocket universe. It's not tying into anything, right? And then there's the continuity that's tied in, right? So, and guess what? They're all profitable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're all probably like, hey, we're telling all these stories. Like, listen, if you didn't love Gotham by Gaslight, right? If you did not love something that on paper it doesn't make sense that Batman is Batman in London during the Jack the Ripper period in the Victorian era, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't believe that, and it's like, no, but it's cool. Like, it's fun to put this character there, to see it, to read it, to feel it, right? I think that that's profitable.
Yeah.
Right? Tell stories, put these characters, and go, oh, snap, that's so-and-so. That's what they would do if they were there. So I could see that being here. And I'm not mad at that. I don't need this to tie in.
Yeah, me too.
I don't need it to tie in.
I don't need it. I think they should go back to doing what Warner Brothers does best, and that's just make good movies. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about a universe. You have so much other stuff going on. They could all be pocket universes. You want to connect them one day, use the Flash. I don't think that should be their main goal anymore. I think you can have, those moments where there is a crossover. But I think just start making good movies again. Like, Marvel has perfected a formula that Warner Brothers cannot do. How it's created, how it's run, where it is in its conglomerate. It doesn't have that kind of autonomy. Marvel can only focus on Marvel. Warner Brothers can't just focus on DC. They got several other stuff. So at this point, if you can't give 100% of your attention to it, the attention you do give to it, give us something we haven't seen before. Give us new interpretations of modern legends. Like, with the Riddler now being the Zodiac killer, like, the mask. That's something that's gonna live far beyond just this year, just that look. And if you notice, their noses match. Him and Batman, they're in terms of leather masks, their noses match. And that's something that people are gonna remember. They're gonna remember this Riddler was just so intense, but it was unlike any Riddler we had seen before. And I think that's the kind of emotions you want to give an audience now. You can't do the shared universe. It's not going to work for you. You can't. The moving parts just aren't there. But if you can provide experiences that change the way superhero cinema is done, that's not a bad legacy either.
No. And I want to say this, though, right? So let's say if this is Matt Reeves, like if this is his world, right? If this is his Batman, right? You can't share it, right? Like, this is it. This is it. Like, there's something going on here, period. In this Gotham, in this timeline, and this is it, right? Like, we can't concentrate on anybody else in Keystone City. We can't concentrate else on anybody in Central City. Like, this is it. Mm-hmm. This is it. This is the world, and this is what's going on. And so I want to say really quickly, though, right? Mm-hmm. Like you just said something, and I forgot it that quick, right? But here's the big part that I love, and in the cinema aspect of it, right? Yeah. That we're saying this character, we don't know, like, who's funding Riddler?
Yeah.
Who's funding Bruce? Like, wait, Bruce is losing money. The Wayne Corporation is losing money.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what's going on here, right? And so that's what it is. So when you look at a shared universe, you know what's coming next.
Yeah.
There are no stakes. This film, what they are doing, what they have set up here, we have stakes moving forward. We don't know what's coming. Keep it here. This is what we should be doing. We should not know, like you said this early in the episode, right? Mm-hmm. That Batman could lose.
Yeah.
Right? Like, like, this guy's got to get prepared. Like, wait, this guy could actually win. Like, the Riddler can win, and he did. Yeah. Like, and I actually applauded when his plan, like, when the dams broke, right? When he broke all the levees and boom, 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 boom. And he's like, yeah, no, I did exactly what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
That's important. And that's important to cinema, right? That we're like, holy hell, like, what's going on? That you're leaving the cinema asking questions.
Exactly.
Because we don't get that with Marvel. We leave the cinema going, okay, what's next?
Yeah, it's two different conversations you're having when you're leaving a Marvel movie and leaving a DC movie. With a DC movie, you're like, that was great. I want to talk about the movie I just saw. With Marvel, you're just thinking about the next movie you saw. So the movie you just saw doesn't have prominence anymore. It's getting forgotten about, because you're not thinking about what's next. And it doesn't have lasting power, in terms of your mind. Like, yeah, the universe as a whole has lasting power. But, like, I wonder if this universe ever ends, a few generations from now, how prominent will those movies be in terms of when you talk about superhero cinema? Like, well, it's about the universe. The universe was great. But how much of it will be those are really great movies? Because I think the Marvel universe has very little truly great movies. Yeah,
I'd say 3 at best. 3 at best. They have 3 real. They have, in my opinion, they have 3 great movies. And I'll tell anyone this. I will argue with anyone. Doctor Strange is one of them. Yeah. Doctor Strange is actually one of them.
So good.
If you were to ask me, it was great. So DC, the corporate entity, the corporate wing of that corporate entity of Warner Media, they have some questions, and I think they're going to see. I don't think Robert Pattinson, I don't think any of them should move forward. I think, if anything, like, there seems to be, like, just a wink and a nod to the Joker universe, like, wink, wink, like like, there just seems to be a wink and a nod there, and I love that. Like, hey, these two aren't, like, pay attention, but the other DC shit, we don't care, and most people don't. Batman, here's the thing. I think you said this a while ago. Like, you said something on Twitter to me, or I think we were having a phone conversation, right? You said something to the effect of, Batman transcends everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like Batman transcends. Like, you know, we don't need that. Batman has so much going on. Like he's never needed the JLA, never to be relevant. Never. If anything, Batman has always legitimized the Justice League,
and that's a hell of a play. That's a hell.
Yeah,
because he has a great rogues gallery. Like if that rogues gallery is any less than what it is, no one takes Batman that seriously. And because he has to keep constantly improving, constantly getting better at solving new and different problems, like it's why you're more invested in him. Like Superman, listen, there's only but so many ways you can tell a Superman story. Wonder Woman, there's only so many ways that she can, you know, stop something from happening. Even though she's a little bit smarter than Superman, so she has a bit more tools in her toolbox that hasn't been used yet in terms of film. But it's like after a while, it's like Batman's the only one that has to keep learning things. He's the only one that has to keep learning what's going on, like new technologies, new forensic shit. He's constantly getting challenged with new and different riddles in this case. You know, that's why I think he has the lasting power, because that character is constantly always evolving. And I think that's why I think people had an issue with, the people who did have an issue with year 2 Batman forgot that this is the Batman we always get. He's always in between eras. Like he's always, for the most part, like for long runs, this is the Batman you most likely fell in love with. Not everyone starts off reading Long Halloween. Not everyone starts off reading Court of Owls. For most people, their first Batman comic is an in-between era where this guy is just, he's in the in-between. You're watching him learn and you're trying to catch up with him. That's what this movie does very well. And it's a trick. There's so much David Fincher in this movie, because Fincher likes to start his movies like that. Like you're catching up. Then we have the Seven reference with the Riddler in his apartment, how he has all these ledgers, you know, he's done all this homework, and like the real clue is in his apartment, and he's got like, it looks like a John Doe apartment, you know, almost every shot, like how they're done is a very David Fincher kind of shot. You go back to Zodiac, how they shot Zodiac. That's how the Riddler looks, you know.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, you know, these things happen this way. You know, and there's a reason why you want to try to catch up with this Batman movie, because that's how you're always experiencing Batman. He's never really your Batman. He's always in between being whoever he is. And I think that's why the Batman works in a lot of ways. You know, it's just because we're catching him right when we would first read a Batman comic book. And kudos to Matt Reeves for taking that approach, because doing year 2 Batman, from a marketing standpoint, from just how you're taught to think about stories and all that, isn't the year normal people would pick. You either do the first year or 5 years in. No one ever does 2 or 3. And he took the gamble. You know, here's a Bruce who's not ready to be Bruce yet. You know, here's his villains haven't gotten ridiculous yet. They're smart. They're deadly. But they haven't gotten to this level of ridiculousness where the traps are super elaborate. You know, granted, Heath Ledger's Joker's great, but by the time you get to the end of that movie, you're like, all right, this dude's doing a lot. And even with Dark Knight Rises, this dude's doing a lot. At least with this movie,
he's doing a lot.
You know, like, it's a lot going on in Rises. Where, like, that's ridiculous. And that's the thing, right? Like,
this dude's doing a lot.
It's true.
No, because it's true. No, that's why it's so funny, though. Yo. Like, when you look at it like, yo, wait a minute, homie. You doing a lot.
You're waiting for a whole lot right now. Like, if I... Like, and listen, for Bale, he didn't have to solve any crimes, so that's why it happened that way. But, like, if you look at even the ending of this movie, it ends in a catastrophe. You know, it ends... you know, with the Riddler overall winning, but it doesn't feel like Dark Knight Rises, where it's like, it's hollow, where it's spectacle. You know, Matt Reeves, you know, knows that this year 2 Batman is dealing with something that isn't spectacle yet. And this is a perfect pocket for new comic book movies. Catch people on the in-between. You don't have to go back and do the origin. You don't have to do the biggest story they've ever done. Catch an in-between story. You know, catch a like, oh, this he's somewhat who he is, but not there yet. And I think if people follow the Matt Reeves formula, it's gonna go well for them. He showed the way, man. He really showed the way.
I think so. I think so. And if we're gonna be honest, this is why, I shudder to think about this next wave of the MCU, because I don't want you to show me another origin of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I don't want another origin of the X. Like, what are you guys gonna do? And so, if anyone's looking at that and listening to it, you're saying that in between, like catching up, that's the only way to do it, man.
It's the only new interesting
the only way to do it, man.
Yeah. And with that being said, let's do a quick roundup of anything we might have missed. Well,
okay.
It's not necessarily what I might. So one of the things I do like about Paul Dano is the rat trap he puts on Patrick Savage, who was a character on the old Batman Adam West show. I forgot what character he was, but he was a person on that show. I think he was another Gotham citizen or something.
Oh yeah. That's true. I read that somewhere. Yeah. That's a good catch.
His helmet with the rats eating his face, a reference to 1984, which is a popular book of that kind of sect on the internet. You know what I mean? Just, oh no, the Big Brother's watching you, the conspiracy theory angle. Alex Jones probably had a field day with this movie. We talked about the Saw reference. Now this reference, actually I want to pull this up too. So on one of the comments on the Joker social media video is hold the line, a reference to, Wall Street bets. You got to hold the line with GameStop stock. I thought that was interesting, even though it paints a picture of not really understanding what Wall Street bets is about, but I appreciate it. Give me all the references you can to modern society.
Okay.
Now, the diner reference. I don't know if you saw this one. There's a reference to where, well, not necessarily a diner, but where the Riddler lives. Apparently, he lives on Carruthers Street.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know that. Okay. Oh, I know the Carruthers reference. Oh, absolutely.
Would you like to go into it?
No, you go. You got it right in front of you. You got the actual, but I know about it.
So, he's living on Carruthers Street. The Riddler appeared in a Legion of Superheroes television special.
Yes.
It was
crazy.
A reunion for the old Batman cast, Adam West and all that. They had some other superheroes in there. Who else was in there? Because my memory on it is super spotty. I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in years, but I know the big deal was because Burt Ward and Adam West showed up. You know what I mean? So they came back and they played their iconic characters in this absolute farcical production. It was terrible, but go ahead. It's like the DC version of the Star Wars Christmas special. It's really what it's like.
Okay, so in this special, Solomon Grundy, Weather Wizard, Sinestro, Green Lantern, Giganta, Dr. Sivana's in that? Black Canary, Hawkman, The Flash, Mordo, Huntress, The Riddler, which is why we're bringing it up. The Riddler lives on Carruthers Street. Who was the executive producer of this special? Bill Carruthers. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And he had a bomb. Like that whole thing.
Yep.
And what's his name came back? Frank Gorshin.
Yep, Frank Gorshin
came back. Probably the most. He came back for it, and everybody really talked about his performance. Like, nah, man, like he killed. Like, and the whole plot was Riddler and his bomb, and Batman like, where's the bomb? Like, and it was all of those things, and kind of bringing Riddler back into the forefront. Yeah. Like the character itself, man, like he was never like after his first debut, it took like 12 or 13 years before they used him again.
Yeah. In
the actual comics, man. So like he's never just been this super player. Yeah. Until like the modern era, really. So yeah, I have one. My favorite one.
Shoot. When
Alfred, when he got the letter before everything blew up, the Shakespeare bus.
Yeah.
That's the same Shakespeare bus from Batman 66.
So good.
Where they open the head up and then push the button for the door to open. And that's how they got to the pole to get to the Batcave.
Exactly. Since we're talking about how good that references Matt Reeves was, I got two things to break down about the technical side of this movie that I thought were really fascinating. Number one, they achieved this look using anamorphic lenses, but what they did was they found the most flawed 70s lenses so it would legit look like the time period. So much to the point where they brought it to the camera company going, oh, we want these lenses. We want you to customize lenses that look like this. They're like, are you kidding me? This is not an 80 or an 85. It's an 88. Like, this is not like typically how you would shoot. And they're like, oh, no, we love these lenses. Like, these are the exact flaws we want in the movie. Shot on the Arri Alexa as well. So for you tech nerds, that's amazing to me. Like, you actually look for the flawed lenses so you get close to the time. And they found apparently the roughest lenses imaginable. Which is even more interesting because they put those looks into a computer where Matt Reeves, is the second fact, was able to virtual reality be on set. So they would design the sets and put on VR goggles, and he would go, move this wall. Yeah, we should change this here. Where can we put the camera here? So he was already on set before he actually being on set through the VR. The future.
That's dope.
That man. Now, I know we spoke about the future of the DCEU. I would humbly like to pitch my next Batman movie in this universe.
I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting. Now, I want to hear it. What do you got?
I want to put this before I do it. I'm not saying this is what they should do. I'm just saying what I would do. To me, this trilogy really has a lot of emotion in it, unlike any other Batman trilogy we've ever seen. And there's a moment in this movie that I think Robert Pattinson just delivers on every time, is when he sees the mayor's son. He not only knows what that kid is going through, he is reliving it through that kid, and now he has a super vested interest in saving this kid. This kid is the first kid he saves at the end, when the whole stadium is flooded, where he takes out his little, torch and lights the way for people. That mayor's son is the first person he gets to. When I think about what Gotham is now it's, in kind of a no man's land state. I think about what happens with power vacuums, whether it's social, whether it's crime. I think that's what the next movie is going to be about. Clearly it's about power vacuums. But what I want out of it is I wanted to touch on the grift of hope and how people play on the idea of hope. If Batman is now deciding, I'm going to be a symbol of hope, he should have to now argue his way through that with someone who's providing a false hope through different means. When I think about the grift of mentors and life coaches, I'm reminded of Jordan Peterson. Not in a negative way, because I do like some of the stuff he writes in his books, but I do disagree on some other things. But I think about a Jordan Peterson type. This is a dude who uses mythology, the Bible, to make really interesting points about human psychology and where we are as a society. There's someone else who uses literature to get his point across, and that's one Jarvis Tench. What I want is for this Jarvis Tench to be pitching this idea of Wonderland, what Gotham can be. Gotham's issues are not physical, they're mental. Crime starts in the mind. And if we are to conquer fear, we are to conquer the mind, we're going to need to do some drugs. This is a guy who's pro psychedelic research. Who a lot of these dudes exist today. People do MDMA treatments, all that now. This is a guy who knows how the CIA's MK Ultra operation worked. He's from that long line of scientists who've experimented with psychedelics, learned how to use mind control, and he is literally coming out like he's on the Joe Rogan Experience. He's that kind of guy. This guy comes to Gotham with an idea. Like we talked about the Riddler, his idea is out there of Gotham. Here's a guy who's building a new idea of what Gotham can be if we just learn to elevate beyond our means. He starts starts as a building, it soon becomes a community. This is a guy who's telling people how to live better. Clean your room, get yourself together, get a job. He's toxic positivity. But what people don't realize is, just like, with Jim Jones's church, it starts off as a small group and then becomes a religion. So now there's this growing cult going on in Gotham at their most hopeless. What gets Batman involved is that he's been following the mayor's family, the wife and the son. And these two people fall into that grift of hope. They end up at Wonderland. And Bruce knows he can't go in there as Batman to fight this whole thing head on because he doesn't know anything that's going on. Like, there's no way to investigate. There's a really close-knit community. But if they're willing to accept the mayor's son, maybe Bruce Wayne can talk his way into that door. And now Bruce Wayne is spending time with this Wonderland cult. Now, secondary plot going on. Catwoman returns to Gotham to work alongside Jim Gordon because a guy named Black Mask is leaving Bloodhaven to come and take the power vacuum in Gotham. He's coming after the Penguin, so now Catwoman and Jim Gordon have to work together. Now Jim has to figure out, how do I work with a second mass vigilante? And they develop a certain relationship that will, I guess, come into play down the line. But we also see him talk to her about their relationship with Batman and vice versa. But they're stuck protecting the Penguin, essentially. I want the Penguin to be the Mickey Doyle like he was in Boardwalk. He was the funny gangster that just somehow lived all the time. Everyone dies, but Mickey Doyle doesn't until like the last season. But he survived like a good majority of the wildest deaths I've ever seen on Boardwalk. So now while they're investigating that, Bruce has now gotten deeper into this cult. He ends up being drugged by the Mad Hatter, Jarvis Tench. And he finds out there's this upper echelon part of the cult called the Wonderland Gang. And they are essentially scientists and doctors who specialize in this shit. So they're originally using Bruce to get to his money, but what they start to realize is there's something deeper here. He's hiding a bigger secret. I also kind of want to flash to like visions of Bruce and like what Gotham would have been like with his family. These psychedelic hallucinations are showing him what life could have been like with his family. One of my favorite Superman stories is For the Man Who Has Everything. And you see like what his life would have been like had Krypton not exploded. We've never really seen what Bruce's life would be like if his parents never died. This would be kind of an interesting way to tap into that and to learn more about Bruce and what he feels was taken away from him. What he feels has been taken away from this kid that he's been following who's joined this cult. And throughout this time, you're finding out that the Black Mask is actually moving drugs into Gotham, which is what the Mad Hatter has been using all this time. So they've got to connect. So to stop drugs in Gotham, Gordon and Catwoman have to go after the Wonderland Gang as a part of the whole operation. Selina finds Bruce Wayne, doesn't know he's Batman yet. But when she gets him out of his psychedelic trip, he puts on a mask, still a little high, and starts fighting down the hallway. And she realized, holy shit, this dude's fucking Batman. Because she hasn't really figured out all of the Batman, or they haven't let us know that. So in this situation, she finds out then. After taking down the Wonderland Gang, he goes at the Black Mask, which becomes this whole, he's got the Penguin somewhere, and now they've got to stop him. To me, I think him following that kid into a journey of self-discovery, because listen, we already know he's got a bit of a thing with substances. At the end of the third act, we see him inject himself with looks to be venom. He goes nuts. He gets crazy. They have to stop him from being down one of the Riddler's henchmen. So we know already he's not foreign to the idea of performance enhancing drugs. So it would make more sense for him to be willing to go through the Mad Hatter's treatment just so he can know what it is. But indirectly, he ends up in a place where, while they're trying to scheme stuff out of him, he's actually finding a level of acceptance. At this Gotham that I imagine will never be. And I have to let that go. It's what he's dealing with at the end of this movie. And I think to visually show it would be really dope. And I think just having a Mad Hatter who hasn't been used before, in this era where psychedelics are more and more of a conversation, you get around the technology angle that's always been a little goofy. Black Mask, to me, I like Black Mask. Never really saw him as a major dude. I like using him as a guy who's going after Penguin. Because I like the idea of Penguin being so scared he has to turn to Catwoman and Gordon. And I think Black Mask has the physicality where you would actually fear if he got his hands on Penguin. So it juxtaposes the Mad Hatter and Black Mask very well. But I think it's all about that. I think Bruce is now deeply processing a lot of things in the second year and I guess third year of this movie. He's processing the real psychological questions we've never watched him do before. And I kind of want to see a sequel that keeps going there. And using the mayor's son, I think, is a fair way to get him to do that. That would be my sequel.
Okay. I'm going to tell you that after listening to that, I now see our fundamental differences as creators, right? I see our fundamental differences, and that I am, and I don't have any problem with this, right? That I lean more towards a corporate thinking, like, okay, what's going to make money?
Yeah.
Right? Like you are very creative. That is very creative. That's like, everyone's going to love that. And I'm going to tell you something, that script is going to circulate all over the industry and it won't be picked up, but you know what's going to happen to it? That script, they're going to nibble off of ideas off that script for the next cartoon, for the next, show like Nightwing, and they're going to use the Black Mask stuff. They're going to use the test stuff. Like, it's going, I can't remember, but there's a script that was like that.
Yeah.
Where Hollywood was like, they didn't take it. But they used so many elements off of it, right? Like, I want to say the last thing I know that kind of happened to was the Magneto one-shot film.
Yeah.
I know that happened with that they just kind of cherry-picked a bunch of stuff off of it, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely love, like, moving forward. I would say what my sequel would be. I kind of like what you did with the test part, and I would add him to it, but he's the guy behind drops.
Gotcha.
And we're going to see, right, look at like his vision, like with the DA, like how he was viewing stuff when he had the drops, right? The drops, right? So I'm going to push that part. Right? Like, there was some, again, here's stage 3 now. Like, we've already put that out. We got that. So now we're going to get the citizens, all acted up. So I was actually thinking about the drug aspect, right? Yeah. So now I just didn't know who was going to do it. But boom, Tesh, the drops, he has this thing. Who's funding it? Like, we're looking like, who the fuck is funding these guys? Like, where are they getting this money? Because, again, that's still a part of it.
Yeah.
Right?
They're part of the conspiracy.
It's part of the conspiracy moving forward, right? And the fun, right? Like, wait, so is the fun still there? Who's siphoning this? Like, is it, wait. And so the thing is that I want to have a guy, right, rise up. And so my story will take place, boom, right after, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right off the top, it is an amalgamation of Court of Owls, but the story is truthfully after No Man's Land.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
And the rebuild of Gotham.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, the Lex Luthor type of my story that's going to come in and infuse all this money and all of this and it's going to turn Gotham into this city, like, oh, shoot, it's actually going to be the character from the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be him, but I'm going to, You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to put it in that context, but I'm actually going to use the Luthor model from the No Man's Land after story, right? Yeah. And so then, but the background is like, he doesn't see anything going on with that. That's just kind of like happening. Yeah. But this drops and everybody's on this drug and like trying to figure out who's moving it in, where's it coming from? And, like, that's happening. And that he doesn't see, kind of like what Alfred said, like, dude, you got to do stuff as Bruce too. Yeah. Like, and this stuff is happening underneath his nose as Bruce. And like, he's like, this guy is like, oh, hey, Bruce. And like, maybe he even knows him, like, kind of the Court of Owls kind of thing. Right. And so again, like juxtaposing the Riddler and being an orphan, and then this guy, because we find, I don't want to spoil anything for people out there who haven't read Court of Owls, but again, another mirror. Yeah, read it. Another mirror of Bruce, because that's what a lot of this stuff is. Like, he's making these people in his image. Bruce is God. Yeah. So, of this world. So I think that's what I would do. I would have that, like the Black Mare chick. I think she comes up with the illness. I think, like, somebody gives her drops and they get her out of there, like, oh, she's a drug addict. What? Like, and he's like, wait, what's going on? And it led him to that. And he's like, oh, shoot, this whole time, this is all connected. Again, kind of not seeing the pieces and the clues. Yeah. And then pushing, Oz is still there. Like, he thinks he's a part. He's like, nah, my hands are clean. Like, and, he's like, fuck, I'm always wrong with this guy. Yeah. And so, and then just furthering that, I think we need another action set piece, like the chase. We need a big thing of that, and I clearly could see, like, kind of like the raid. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And of the chemical place that might be a whole organization that's actually manufacturing it. Yeah. And where Tesh works and where he's developing it, and like he's Batman going into this building and multiple layers of hell. Yeah. You know what I mean? These guys are in there protecting their assets, and just like kind of like even the Daredevil scene going into that building. Definitely. And like, and so we see that, like, yo, holy shit. And another thing that I think we missed when we talked about the references, a lot of people got that wrong when they were like, oh, he's biting off a Daredevil, right? With the red that they did originally. That's actually Dark Victory. Yeah. If people go back and look at those covers and like the red and then the grayscale, it was amazing. That's what they were doing. That was an homage to Dark Victory, again, year one. So that's what I would do. My big action set piece for that film I would clearly steal from the Raid. And I think Warner Brothers, don't they have the Raid? Isn't that theirs?
Should be. They don't have.
I think it's theirs. Yeah, I think it's theirs. And so that would be my thing. Maybe Selena comes back. I think I kind of want to freshen it up. The only like returning person that I would want to see is definitely Oz. Yeah. I definitely want to see Oz back. I don't want to see Riddler. I don't want to see Joker at all.
I don't want to see them either.
I don't want to see either of them.
I've got this part. In the Wonderland gang, there is a Solomon Grundy there. But he's like a big dude that just says born on a Tuesday because he's affected by the narcotics.
Ooh. Okay. Well, I'm still in that I'm going to put that in my corporate sequel.
You can have that for
I'm going to put that, like, he's going to be, like, I might replace, like, so maybe even the twins have been promoted or they're, and that, and so now they're the new guy at Oz's spot is this slow, dim-witted guy, Solomon. You know what I mean?
I like that.
And to introduce, me like it. Yeah. Me like it. I'm taking that for my corporate sequel.
I like it. Working the way corporations do. That's what we do.
Yes. Yes.
Well, Ray, we've thoroughly have gone through the Batman and our feelings and our thoughts. Is there anything you can imagine they didn't get to?
No, nothing. I mean, like, just I love feeling I'm gonna always keep saying it, like the chase scene. I didn't mention that it was very French Connection. Like, as soon as I'm watching, I said, oh, this is French Connection all day. And just the homages to that period from the late 60s, 70s counterculture film, and it's not a resurgence. It's just they created it. French Connection, Chinatown. Oh, yeah, it was listen, the nose, his nose being broken and his nose being covered, and the femme fatale that was Catwoman was Faye Dunaway's character. Yep. I definitely have a line there, and this guy who's a confident detective but he just doesn't know what's all going on. If you go and watch not French Connection, you go and watch Chinatown right now, you'll go, okay, this is year 2 Batman.
Definitely.
This is him right now. And so all of those references, and then wait a minute, and then you even said another one. One of the bigger films of that era, outside of The Exorcist, Mon Frere, The Godfather.
Yeah.
It really was. Listen, it was a clear, probably the best homage. It wasn't that nostalgia porn that Tarantino turned in.
Yeah.
That was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was nostalgia porn. This wasn't that. This was respectful, tasteful, and also very delicate and subtle homages.
Yeah.
So that's it for me, man. It's a brilliant film, masterstroke in cinematography, directing, writing, and even casting. Because again, Jeffrey nailed it. Jeffrey nailed it. And I want to say this too, real quick. The Pattinson.
Yes.
His frame. It makes more sense that he should look more like a middleweight.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? Smaller, faster. Because middleweights can hit you more.
Yeah.
Those guys, and they can knock you out now. Everybody talks about heavyweights. A middleweight can knock you out, and they have greater endurance. Kind of like when we saw Adrian Brody when he did the Predator.
Yeah.
The Predators.
Oh yeah.
And how
he looked good. Looked good.
He was wiry, and that's a special forces guy. Yeah. Not these big, bulky Schwarzenegger types. Those are not special forces guys. Yeah. That's a lie. That's a myth. You know what I mean? That unless you're a gunner, you're a tank gunner. There's certain purposes for those guys.
Well,
but the guys in the field,
spook.
I do know. And we'll end it there. The conversation's over for me because there's too many allusions to me being a government agent. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm done.
With that being said, shout out to Ray who's in the field. Thank you for coming through. I know it's hard in Ukraine right now, even though you're not there. Thank you for showing up. But I think
my pleasure.
You're such a patriot, even though you're not overseas at all. You're just at home.
Mm-mm.
But I think we both know how this is gonna end.